Hello everyone, Jordan here, welcome back to a new review. In this one we're looking at the new Corsair K70 TKL gaming keyboard. This is built with competitive gamers in mind, with a tournament switch to disable macros, custom lighting and actions, and also has Corsair's Axon technology, which we also saw on the K65 Mini. This gives up to an 8000Hz polling rate for a lightning fast response. So as usual, I'll list some of the key features and then we'll get inside the box. As you guessed by the name, this is a 10 keyless design keyboard, giving it a form factor of just 360 by 164mm. Other notable features include PBT double shot keycaps with a standard bottom row, cherry red or speed switches, of which I've got the reds here, detachable USB-C cable, per key backlighting, full key rollover and also hardware key assignment and lighting, perfect for using your custom settings when IQ's not running or installed on the current machine you're using. Now before we get comments asking, I've got a UK layout inside the box, whereas the US is printed on the box. This is a very common thing we see, as it saves companies time and money over printing every different region layout to match the countries that it's available in. So onto the box, and inside we'll find the keyboard, documents including instructions, safety and warranty information, a braided USB-A to USB-C cable, keycap puller, and an optional textured FPS WASD and MOBA QWER DF keycaps. So here's the K70 TKL. Upon first impressions, it's a very stealthy looking board, and I like that it's got a cool brushed black aluminium or aluminum metal backplate, much like we saw on the K95. We do see a difference in the keys though, as unlike the K95's gloss keycaps, the K70 TKL has the PBT keycaps with a matte finish. The Corsair say will resist wear, fading and shine, perfect if you find that your fingers can get slightly greasy after longer periods of use. Now because of those keycaps, it does give the board a more flat look, which I for one prefer. On the top right of the keyboard we'll see another similarity to some other Corsair keyboards such as the K70 Mark II or the K95 again, a nice volume scroll wheel. This is darker in colour to the K95's, adding to the stealth, and is a textured feel and smooth when rotated. There's also an illuminated mute button which has customisable RGB backlighting. Moving left of the scroll wheel, we've got options to switch the current profile, backlight brightness and Windows key lock. These are illuminated in white, and then the brightness and Windows key can change to red depending on certain profile settings and if the lock's enabled or not. And don't worry if you're not keen on the colours, these again can be changed in IQ. The media controls are on the top left of this keyboard, making it much less crowded along the right side, especially as they normally be incorporated with the number keys, which we obviously don't have. As usual, we've got previous and next track, play, pause and stop, all of which have customisable RGB backlighting. To the right of those we've got a caps and scroll lock indicator, as well as an RGB Corsair logo that again can be controlled. The bottom left of the keyboard we'll see a K70 printed logo, a nice clean little detail that we've seen on a lot of the recent Corsair launches. Moving to the rear of the keyboard we'll see the USB-C port for the removable cable, and the included cable is a fairly soft one with a nice tight braid and is 2 meters in length. Now let's look at one of the key features to this board, which is the tournament mode switch. As I mentioned before, when enabled this will disable macros, custom actions and lighting, and once that switch is enabled you can flip a plastic piece to make sure it stays enabled until you flip that back and then disable the switch. In addition to that, when enabled, a red LED shows up to show visual confirmation the mode is enabled for the user, and also competition officials should you be competing. If we flip the K70 over, there are some great large rubber pads for the desk, and if you decide to flip out the feet for raised use, there's also rubber on the feet for extra grip. Now if using this keyboard on a PC without IQ or maybe on a console, you do have preset options for the backlighting, which I'll run through now. The first effect we saw was the spiral rainbow. Moving on to rain, which is personally one of my favourite ones. Rainbow wave, which is the default, is on function +3. Now you can actually change the effect speeds of these as well. So you can reduce them using minus and then increasing them with equals. You can also rotate certain effects as well using the square brackets. This one is the visor effect. You can also change the speeds of those. The next one we've got is the type lighting per key. So when the key is pressed, it will actually light up. And you can change how fast or slow that fades out with the square brackets too. The next one we got is a colour shift. Again, you can change the speed that this works. Then we've got a colour pulse, or otherwise known as a breathing effect. Function +9 will give us a color wave, and you can change the direction and also the speed of this effect as well. And then Function +0 will give us a static color, and you can keep pressing this to cycle through various colors that are on board. So let's look at the cherry red switches that the K70 offers. As I did mention, it does come with silvers if you should prefer, but the reds require 45 cn of pressure to activate, and their actuation point is 2mm with a further 2mm till they bottom out. This keyboard actually sounds quite different to the K95 because of the PBT keycaps, and for those of you that want to hear how it sounds, this is the part for you. Personally, I think this is one of the best sounding keyboards that's come across my desk. Now, a quick note with the additional keycaps, when I originally put them on, I thought they were meant to sit up really high, but they were just not pressed down, and they do require a bit of pressure to actually seat fully, so don't be afraid to give them a good push. Once you put these keys on, it does change the sound a little bit of the keyboard, and just in case anyone's wondering, this is how it sounds. Okay, so briefly looking at iCUE, if you've seen any of my other videos recently, we're now using iCUE software version 4, and we've got a few options down the side here. So basically the hardware options are for when the keyboard's not using iCUE, so if you're using it on a different PC or maybe at a friend's house. But let's go through and give you an example of what we can do. Now, it has taken some of my macros that I've programmed on my K95, so just ignore those for now. But what we're going to do, let's make a example macro. So we're going to press on the plus. Down here, we're going to enter whatever we want to include in that macro. It won't actually start recording until you type the first key as well, so don't worry about how much time you're going to take up to actually do it. Then you've got all the different variables you can enter here, and then you choose your key to do it to. So let's just say we want to make a copy paste one for an example, and then we want to say key, let's go for F5, and then that is then programmed in. So it's really quite simple. We've got some advanced options if you want to keep the original key outputs as well, and then all of them are down here. You've also got a assignment library, so should you make a lot of macros, you can go down there and you can add all those into that. So the hardware key assignments is when iCUE is not running, so any of those that you want to carry on you can do, but let's for example add another one onto Z. I want to do Control V for this one, and there we go. So really easy. Same kind of options for the remapping down at the bottom. A little bit less complex than when you've got iCUE running. It's not quite as many options as you can do here, but some of the things need the software. So lighting effects, I've got a rainbow wave with a white Corsair logo. Currently that's what I'm rocking, but to easily add a layer, you can just press plus. Choose all of your different presets down from the side. A lot of these you would have seen in the demonstration that I did, but there are a couple extras like the audio sync, and then you just pick where you want it. So let's say I want to do, what should we go for? Let's go for a visor effect on the WASD keys. That's going very, very fast, and slow that down. So now that's just showing exactly what you're seeing there on my keyboard. It does it in real time as well, so you don't have to click apply every time you change a little detail. So that's nice to see, and very easy to adjust. So if we want to do all of that, just press all, or just the arrow keys 1 to 6, blah blah blah. And now it's changing the effect on those set keys. You can do up to 20 layers even on a hardware mode. So for example, when I disconnect iCUE, so if I was to shut down iCUE, then it will go to my backup profile. But even that, you can do 20 different layers, and then obviously unlimited when you're on the software. So if you really want to spend some time with this, you can, and really get it dialed in. If we go down to performance, this is where we're going to set the options for when our Windows key lock is on. and you can also change the colors as well. So for default, white I think is a nice color because you can easily see it, but you can change that should you want to from anything in the RGB. And then if we go down to device settings, this is where we're going to have our options for our polling rate. Now earlier I mentioned the 8000 Hertz polling rate. Now the Axon technology actually allows a 4 times faster response from the switches alone. And then you've got the 8000 Hertz polling rate. So there's actually 2 benefits to this keyboard and the software over just the, the massive 8000 Hertz polling rate. So we can enable that here. That will reset and then we'll go back into it. Now, as a quick side note, Corsair shipped this keyboard with 1000 Hertz just purely for kind of backwards compatibility with older PCs. So you will need to enable that. It's just sent like that, just so you've got the maximum capabilities straight out of the box. Other things we can do is check for updates, change your current layout, tournament backlighting color can be changed in there as well. I think a nice cyan works quite well for that. Further down we've got the profile options. I've just got the default one for me. And then on the left, we've got the option to clear the onboard memory should you want to clear all of your custom options. Okay, so it's been a pretty lengthy one, but I wanted to give you as much detail as I possibly could in a short period of time. Now it's time for a conclusion. So the K70 TKL was obviously built with championship gaming or competitive gaming in mind, being that it's part of the Champion series. But smaller keyboards are becoming very popular in today's market, so I can certainly see the appeal for people looking at this just for the the form factor. Now this is going to be coming in at $139. It will probably translate over to about £139 or euros too, which I don't think is too bad considering all the additional features that this keyboard has to others that are on the market. Now going back to the form factor, that's obviously going to be a big selling point to a lot of people that maybe want to drop the number pad from their current keyboard and go to a smaller form factor. It does look a lot cleaner on the desk than a full-size keyboard, I think. And for me, it's been a bit of a transition period going from a full size to this, but it's one that's definitely grown on me. So that being said, I would say that a lot of people may be looking at this keyboard purely for, the form factor over the actual competitive aspects that are built into this. I've seen a lot of feature-packed keyboards on the market, and ones that even have less features than this are even higher of a price premium than what this is coming in at. So I don't think it's too bad of a price, considering there'll be a lot of people that will buy this keyboard purely for the size and the media controls and the volume wheel over the actual competitive aspects that they'll probably never touch. As per usual, Corsair, great build quality, great backlighting, macro control, IQ software and everything. IQ4 has certainly come a long way as well. That's certainly more improved than the previous version. The Axon technology using their mental 8000 Hertz polling rate, the 4 times faster key response, just a great package. And those of you that are looking at this keyboard for the competitive aspect, this is certainly going to be one that you want to keep on your shortlist. But then the other camp that want this just for the small form factor and just maybe the stealth aspect as well, if you want to turn off the RGB, it does offer a lot, and I think the asking price isn't too bad if you're not even going to touch the competitive features that are built in. Overall, solid offering from Corsair. I will link all this down below if you want to get one for yourself. And of course, if you do have any more questions that I didn't answer in the video, do leave them down below and I'll get back to you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and ding the bell so you don't miss an upload. Big thank you to Corsair for sending this out for me to review. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.